Hello and welcome back to Metaverse. For today's video, we are going to be talking about NVIDIA's Omniverse, just killed Zuck's Metaverse. Let's get started. Facebook, now Meta, is a bit like the Death Star huge, occasionally menacing, and based on a risky mistake that could spell the death for it. Facebook chose to go all in on the Metaverse when it decided to become Meta, betting that it would probably be the next big thing, and they probably have that right. Only there's a good probability that their Metaverse won't emerge victorious in this conflict. Who will though? It could be someone you haven't considered or even heard of. The metaverse is a term that's been thrown around a lot lately, but along with blockchain, Shuji, and period, it's one of that a lot of people don't really understand. See, the idea for the metaverse isn't new, even though the crypto community has discussed it a lot lately. The original idea came from the 2022 novel Snow Crash, written by a guy named Neil Stephenson, a guy who's a Simpsons-level psychic. In the early 20s, he predicted Google Earth, wireless internet, mobile computing, virtual reality, GPS-enabled electric cars, the gig economy, and AR headsets. So when he talks about the metaverse, we should probably listen. A key element of virtual reality of the metaverse, as he described it, is that it would be decentralized. This means the economy of this alternate system of reality wouldn't be controlled by any one country or company, and certainly not the massive Zuck Empire universe. Experiences like Sandbox, Decentraland, and Superworld have already made this work. However, it's not perfect. These game-like worlds are still walled-off experience. Your weird cousin isn't using Roblox to go on hot dates in Decentraland just yet, even though they're still rougher on the edges. Current virtual worlds show us how metaverse economies can be built and how value can be exchanged within them. They're a proof of concept for something that's going to be much, much bigger eventually. Meta, on the other hand, seems to be stuck in its own pipe dream of having Facebook users conduct all their work meetings and birthday parties in their sterile corporate 3D environment. Facebook isn't exactly known as an innovation company. When it comes to building virtual economies, they don't have the greatest track record. Most of their popular assets are things they bought rather than created, and much of what they've done in the metaverse has been through their acquisitions of Oculus. In fact, ad industry brands aren't sure that Facebook has the right take on the metaverse. See, there are a lot of people there trying to get a piece of the action. The former Nintendo America president thinks that the digital future will be driven by smaller, more innovative companies. Quote, Roblox is an example of the metaverse, wide range of different types of experiences, all tied together with one currency that's happening today, unquote. But one startup in particular that we're keeping an eye on might be on the right track. What might be winning metaverse look like? The likelihood is that if something is going to be the next great thing, many people, not just one business, invented it. As a result, VHS became the industry standard for videotapes, defeating Sony's Betamax. The internet that we take for granted today would have never evolved if it was controlled by just one company. Instead, it had to be something everyone could work on and be a part of. So here are the key challenges to take the metaverse to the next level. First, universal standards. Until HTML came along, the internet really wasn't the internet that we use today. It was this forest of error codes and hard-to-use sites. HTML is a big reason why everyone's pages get along with one another. In the metaverse, we need to create more for file types and practices. Second, encouraging creator freedom. Imagine if all web pages were created by one company and I had to improve even piece of content. There'd be no spice. There'd be no variety. You'd be boring. Instead of one company trying to think of all the things people will want in the metaverse, it's important for the world's creative people to just be able to do their own thing. We need to encourage creativity, not restrict it. And finally, user adoption. adoption. Until everyone agrees on which things we're doing, it's going to be small potatoes. We need to drive more people to check out the metaverse. We need better, cheaper headsets and devices, and we need lots of them. So it has to be a company that's either has huge hardware capability or empowers people who do. The metaverse can't be a niche, like the internet of the early 20s. It's got to be something that everyone's into, like the internet of today. So how do we drive user adoption? Many players have the capability to take on those three tasks. Perhaps a major manufacturer of consumer electronics with the authority to impose programming standards and get its products into everyone's hands. Someone who has performed that previously, or perhaps another social media behemoth with a stronger track record of innovation, or perhaps someone who can oversee the financial aspects of the metaverse and have a solid history in e-commerce. There are a number of players who fit some of those bills. But instead of trying to keep all of these spoils for themselves, what if we had a company that can help facilitate a decentralized, collaborative, and interoperable metaverse so it can actually become a reality? Virtual reality, that is. Omniverse. While many of the top software corporations have participated in open source initiatives and adopted common standards, some are more driven by a need for control than others. The business that created the Omniverse is particularly interested in the market. On the big three keys, they are concentrating. NVIDIA is the organization responsible, in contrast to our meta overlords, who appear to be attempting to rule all humans. I mean, data. NVIDIA has created something different, while Meta talks about what they'll do in the future and show us renderings. NVIDIA talks about tools that developers can use now. Instead of trying to create and control the entire Omniverse themselves, they're creating a framework, a whole suite of tools that help you and existing apps operate, bring together several virtual worlds. They have tools for computer graphics and simulations, tools to create and stage scenes and environments, tools for cinematics and animation. So NVIDIA, the next king of the metaverse. But it's definitely an approach that looks more collaborative than the Metas, Apples, and Googles of the world. And here's why that matters. Looking back at the three keys to the metaverse, the big question for a while was, how could a metaverse exist with so many different standards, different currencies, different physics engines, different avatars? And think of driving a car in GTA and how it feels different from driving a car in Fortnite, and how, depending on the physics of those games, a crash would affect your vehicle very differently. They're just incompatible. The internet had a similar problem in the era before the dot-com boom. Before HTML was widespread, the incompatibility between web pages, browsers, and operating systems made using the internet a nightmare. Basically, it was like a string of islands with no boat to get between them. But NVIDIA's Omniverse fixes that problem with one silver bullet, or USD files. This isn't a new type of file, to be fair, but that's probably good. It was created by Pixar in the 20s for use in their animated films, and it let them create a pretty consistent sense of physics throughout their body of work. The Pixar look was as much as a product of the system as anything else. But this file type has the potential to unite 3D objects from all the different third-party apps and engines that might come together in the Omniverse. It's a single standard that everyone can use. So instead of walling off their ecosystem to plunder people's info, NVIDIA wants to make everything interoperable, which is tech guys speak for playing well together. How about creator freedom? The benefit of the USD file format is that creators can work in whatever platform they want to, and cross over into the Omniverse seamlessly to see all the updates that they've made real time. So even if one person is making a virtual skyscraper in Autodesk and another person is working in Blender, they can contribute without having to manually move mountains of data. Imagine how a decentralized organization with devs and clients from around the world could use the Omniverse from start to finish, and they'd never have to meet in person. And it's already happening. About 500 companies are experimenting with bringing the Omniverse into their workflows. One high-profile example is BMW, who's been using the tech to simulate factories. Because of the massive amounts of data that go into 3D scenes, the Omniverse uses their AI tech to crunch numbers quickly. And better yet, they make it accessible. Developers pay for what they use, not for the whole pile of data. And NVIDIA is really good at large-scale computing. In a recent earnings call, NVIDIA reported that their GPUs power 342 of the world's top 500 supercomputers, and that kind of power is what led some experts to predict that NVIDIA's market cap could surpass Apple's in just 5 years. It's still very early to tell who the major metaverse victors and losers will be. There are no absolutes. The early major participants are rarely the long-time huge winners, if history is any indication. But it appears that whether NVIDIA or someone else, investing on people fostering the decentralized model is a wise course of action. The company just kicked their Omniverse into high gear by giving out free licenses, which normally cost $9,000. Instead of launching full VR experiences like Meta's Horizon Worlds, NVIDIA has gone the direction of doing what Google could do. Now, that's not as ridiculous as it sounds. Before Google was the data empire, they used an open source approach to get software in the hands of eager developers at zero cost. This was one of the reasons why they become such a dominant force. Even if Meta or Apple, with their upcoming VR headsets, create perfectly enabled virtual ecosystems of their own flavors, people still need content, and NVIDIA has beaten Meta to the punch when figuring out how to bring creators on board. Does all this mean that NVIDIA is the only stock worth investing in for the metaverse future? No, far from it. Going into the next 5 or 10 years, there will be virtual worlds that may become more popular than anything Omniverse is connected to, and there'll definitely be a series of land grabs in each of them. But most of these will probably leave folks holding a bunch of stuff that no one wants a year or 5 later. That's just how new technology works. So while Mark Zuckerberg asked us to imagine a metaverse reality at some point in the future, NVIDIA is ready to show you the start of a universe that they've already built and just waiting for everyone to start using it. And chances are that Meta's metaverse will be just one part of the larger Omniverse. From our discussion, what have you learned? Please let me know by leaving a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you for stopping by to watch. See you in our next video.